Hello, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to Harping on Rugby, where with the help of some fellow fans, I get the chance to harp on what's going on with Leinster, Ireland, and the wider rugby world. First up, joining me is someone earning cap number 47. Hello to Mr. Tom Colman.
Evening, Jeff. Evening, Rich.
Hello there. And also with us, as you hear there, is someone making his 31st appearance, coming to us from the Great Rock of Gibraltar. Hello to Mr. Rich Mifsuds.
Evening, Jeff. Evening, Tom.
Good to have you both. Right, gents, before we get to our main match, we're going to start with a feature we call the Front Five, where we pick out 5 eye-catching, egg-chasing quotes and links from around the ruggersphere and offer a few quick thoughts, beginning with yourself, Rich. Your first article comes from BBC Sport. It's from Matt Gault, and the headline reads, Bath come from behind to secure bonus point win in pool opener.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sad state of affairs for Ulster, really. Watched the match and obviously read the article by Matt Gault, and to be fair, it's pretty spot on. I think the truest thing to say here is that the scoreline doesn't flatter Bath in the slightest. They were well worth that differential in points, barring 5 to 10 minutes in the whole match. Ulster weren't really at the races, and that seems to be, well, I was about to say creeping into their game, but this is the third or the fourth loss on the trot, and clearly things aren't good in Ulster rugby at the moment. No huge changes in personnel. You'd have to think that it's something to do with the dressing room or the coaching staff. But fair play to Bath. They played some very decent rugby. Then again, they weren't tested that much by Ulster. Ulster got a clutch of tries, or a brace of tries, in the latter stages of the first half when they hadn't even been in the match at all. And then in the second half, Bath just blew them away. And to be honest, if all the chances that Bath created in that first half, or that first 35 minutes, had been put away, it could have been a really horrific scoreline. As it is, 37-14 isn't the best of scorelines. So not the best start of the Champions Cup season for us, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I suppose the only saving grace for them when it regards to the Champions Cup is that it was away. They've still 2 home matches to come. There are 3 matches, and they can pull it back, but it definitely doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Okay, so now it's time for my first article. We're doing things a little differently this week, as Tom was a late call up to the pod, so he just has the 1 article to review, and I'm going for 2. Beginning with this one from rte.ie by Michael Glennon, with the headline, Dave Heffernan, Connacht didn't deliver, weren't good enough against Bordeaux. Now, while we always make sure to cover all 4 provinces on our wrap pods, I'm pretty sure Connacht fans will be happy enough if I don't dwell for too long on this particular performance, especially given I'm a Leinster fan after last week. Because while no team would have things easy against the lineup, including names like Jackman and Penno, everyone involved with the province would know this was a performance well below the expected standards. And indeed, as the headline suggests, Heffernan owns up to this in the article. Connacht actually started brightly, and even though Bordeaux cost first, a maul try by Hurley Langton pegged them back, and there was only a superb breakaway try finished by Penno before the break, keeping the visitors' lead to just 7. But even in that first half, there were signs things weren't right for Connacht, with JJ Hanrahan kicking a penalty over the dead ball line, Bundy trying to find his form in his first outing after a superb World Cup, and worst of all, Mac Hansen going off injured after just 22 minutes, all giving Pete Wilkins' men a steep hill to climb after the break. And sadly, things went from bad to worse, with the top Qatar's outfit crossing 5 times, with way too many of them made it look way too easy. Now, although a home defeat is the less than ideal way to start any pool campaign, especially one with just 4 matches, all that is not lost for Connacht is they will still feel they have a sniff of reaching the last 16 thanks to the format. And whatever happens in their next away assignments against Sarries and Lyon, they know a good performance at home to Bristol Bears on January the 19th can still see them through. So fingers crossed for that. Okay, now we're going to go to Tom for his article, and it comes from Balls.ie. It's Colman Stanley, and the headline is Jackman hits on Munster issue exposed in disappointing Bayonne draw.
I appreciate you giving me the Munster one, so I can make friends down south again. There's an article about Bernard Jackman, and really the message from the article was just he was highlighting Munster's power deficiency. That was the main takeaway from the article. Munster fans probably don't need Bernard who's a great pundit to probably tell them that, but since they were missing Klein and Sneeman and I think the young Edmund Adogbo, I'm not sure why he wasn't picked. Adogbo, but you would have thought with the two South African World Cup winners out, he would have been side of ideal, considering what we wish, anyone that's looked at European rugby for any number of years, the one thing you're guaranteed out of France is powerful set piece. It doesn't matter what team, if it's Castres or Bayonne or everybody else in between. So apologies if Adogbo was injured or had a knock, because I was busy all week with work, so I wasn't really following it as much as I should to see just the injuries on the Munster side. But it was a strange reason to leave him out if he wasn't injured, because they definitely missed him, and somebody like him would have been ideal to at least curb, because Munster scrum was under fierce pressure. They were losing a lot of balls around the contact as well, and in fairness to Bayonne, it was a superb defence that really won them that game. I think they made over 200 tackles, and it was up over 90% on the tackle percentage, so that's what really won them the game. And it was Bayonne's first Heineken Cup match, I think, compared to Munster's 169th, I think. And in fairness to the Bayonne team, who was a fairly rotated team, to be fair as well, which doesn't make the result great for Munster. They celebrated, and more luck to them. They were in Thomond Park. It's one of those famous stadiums in the Heineken Cup, and they got a really good draw away from home against one of the well-known names in European rugby history. As for Munster, they'll be bitterly disappointed. They have to go to Exeter now. Exeter had a great win down in Toulon and will be fairly buoyant, and Sandy Park isn't an easy place to play. So, and I'm not sure who Munster will have back. They obviously won't have the South African guys back. On a positive, I think worth mentioning, Tyke Byrne. He had a great game. He was a bit of a one-man show at the back row, but well, in fairness as well. Hodnish, who played well against us. He continues to go from stride to stride, but it was that front five power deficiency that Bernard was highlighting, and it definitely cost them against a fairly rotated Bayonne team. But well done to Bayonne for getting a nice result on their European Heineken Cup debut.
Absolutely, yeah. Just a quick check there, and Munster were missing a Dogbo, Barron, Daly, and Ollie Yager available due selection. They were unavailable for selection due to minor injuries, so that didn't help. Certainly didn't help their cause. But I think they probably still would have expected to get to at least get some kind of a win out of that on the night. But they've chances to get that back. Okay, so moving on to yourself, Rich. Your next article, this is one that you've chosen, and it's from the 42.ie. It's by Rebecca Dollard, and the headline is "You appreciate you're a person first, not a rugby player first," by Ryan Baird.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to highlight. It's a very well written article, mainly centering on Ryan Baird's experience post or at the World Cup and post the World Cup disappointments. And it's important to get out there that these are human beings. They're not robots. We may think they're robots, and we may say, well, why isn't he playing well? Well, he may have a young kid, and we're all parents, and the baby has been bawling all night. I couldn't sleep all night, and so I'm not up to my peak performance levels. But I think it's important to get that point across, that these are human beings. They have feelings, they have emotions, and I think it's and obviously we're going to be speaking about the match a little later on. But it's extremely important that we won in the manner that we won, and that we won where we won against La Rochelle, because that was a huge monkey on our backs, and the top 2 inches are incredibly important. And it shouldn't be this way, and because it seems strange, but and we were talking about this earlier on the chats, but it seemed as if the ones who were wronged, as in they'd lost, were La Rochelle. They were really, really hyped up for that match. When, if anybody, the ones who had a grudge was Leinster. But anyway, so that's the importance of the top 2 inches in both facets of things, in disappointment and also in victory. And the other important point from that article is the Nienaber effect already, where Ryan Baird actually explains that he's already having an impact defensively, and I think we saw the opening stanzas of that more so in yesterday's match than we had seen previously. Obviously, the man's only been there for a couple of weeks, although we suspect he's been in touch before he even came. And you know, it's the out to in defense, the rushing defense, and you know this isn't a cut and paste job. He will streamline it to our talents and abilities and the personnel at play. But yeah, it offers an interesting insight into how the direction that I think Jacques Nienaber is going to be taking us together with Leo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's you know, we need articles like this every now and again to just appreciate. I mean, we see these players for 80 minutes at the weekend, and that's the focus of our week. But I mean, just if you just think about it for 2 seconds and realize what they've, you know, that not only do they have lives during the week, but they do so much, like in terms of training, and there's so much in preparation, and then there's the press, and there's all the different elements they have to do in the build up to that to that game. And like you say, they're human beings as well. This is what's behind a lot of this ridiculous social media abuse that you get from people, that they just forget. They just think that these are people that they're just there to be slagged off if anything goes wrong. And it's good to have articles like that give you that focus of what's happening beyond the actual games. Okay, so now it's back to me for our final article. And for the second week in a row, I want to feature the Irish Sevens program. I've chosen a link from the IRFU website, and this only focuses on the women, but there is, of course, much to discuss for both genders from the second leg of the revamped Sevens series, which took place in Cape Town. Now, I'll start with women anyway, because while the 7th place finish is one down from the previous weekend in Dubai, there were still some fine performances, arguably the best of which was one they lost against Australia, as a brace of Bayonne Parsons tries kept the eventual tournament winners honest, and a 14-24 was a very respectable result, all things considered. They also ended the competition on a high, defeating Great Britain, avenging an earlier defeat in the pool stages to finish 7th, like I said, and that is also where they sit in the overall standings after 2 rounds. Meanwhile, the men had a better time of it. Now, any Irish rugby team defeating New Zealand in a quarterfinal would make headlines. But this was not only our first ever win over them in sevens, but also the first time they had lost at this stage of the competition since 2015. And it's not like it was a fluke either. Not only was it a comprehensive 36-21 victory that included a Terry Kennedy hat-trick, but it came after an equally impressive win over the host at the end of day one, with the Irishmen often deploying absolutely suffocating defensive sets that made it look like we had 15 out there instead of 7. However, those levels of physicality can take their toll, and having reached the final 4, we finally came unstuck against eventual tournament winners Argentina in the semifinals, and also against Fiji in the playoff, which meant a 4th place finish that keeps us in 5th on the series table. I said last week, both squads can definitely get higher finishes, and I still believe this to be the case. The series now moves on to Perth for a 3-day event from January 26 to 28. Make a note in your diaries and try to catch as much of the action as you can. It's generally streamed live for free on rugbypass.tv. So that's it for our front 5 for now. As ever, you'll find all those links in the program notes.